Hi, it's Bridget. Welcome to Above Life channel. Today, we're going to be talking to a movie actress. Her name is Jean Harlow. Now, I need to give you a little bit of a backstory on this one. So this morning I was driving home from dropping my youngest off at school, and I was chatting with my husband, and I told him that there's a lot of famous Hollywood types that I can feel around that are accessible and available to have a spiritual connection with. And because of that, I was like, I am so confused about who to be talking to. There's so many, and I'm not usually good with names in the first place. So in the afterlife, if I don't know a person, I don't recognize who they are right away. Like remember, I'm very clairvoyant. So I see an image, and then I know who that person is. So if I don't recognize them by what I'm seeing, it's hard for me to kind of get a beat on them. And yet I'll also get a name. Sometimes I'll just get part of a name or a first name or it sounds like. And if I don't have someone to bounce that off of, it's hard to get confirmation. So I told my husband that we were talking about somebody else, totally random, like Elvis. I was talking about Elvis. And I mentioned Elvis, like, he's easy. You can recognize him, He said, there's all these starlets, these actresses that I feel, a lot of the women, I feel very feminine. So I know that today when I channel, there's going to be a woman that I'll be channeling. And I said, I keep getting, so then by this time I get home and I'm in the kitchen, and I told him, I said, I keep getting this name, this Jean, and I see this woman and she's beautiful. And, the hair and the, kind of like curly and stuff, like wavy curly. And I'm like, it looks like old Hollywood. That's how I would describe it. And by old Hollywood, it could be 30s, 40s, early 50s kind of thing. And that's what I mean. And I said, her name is Jean. I said, I don't know her last name. It looks like an H. And it could be her husband. She might have been married to like somebody named Terry or something. I don't know, but her name is Jean. I hear Jean, 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 Jean. And I said, do you know anybody famous named Jean? And he said, yes. And she has an H last name. I said, who is it? And he said, Jean Harlow. And I said, okay, I don't know who that is, but all right, let's talk to her. So I'm going to open up the channel. Now I am going to let you know that there's going to be a lot of fill in the blanks here because I have no concept, whatever context of what she's done or who she is or where she's lived or whatever. I know she's an actress. I know that. So let's connect in and see. You're going to have to help me. Please put in the comments, fill in the blanks. And if there's more questions about her, and you can help me get to understand who she is, because I don't want to look her up or anything online. I don't want to know all that backstory. When I first come into a channel, I want to see what's pure and present, because what's most important to them, not what's most important to me, needs to come forward. And then you please fill in the blanks and ask some questions in the comments below. And then perhaps in the future, we could talk to her again. I feel like she's connected with someone. I feel like she's a very young woman. I feel like she's had somebody that was quite a bit older than her, that was a male, that was either mentoring her or got her into Hollywood. I feel like she was not originally from Hollywood. I feel like I'm looking at her being around and near the Hollywood Hills. I don't know if that's your afterlife place. Yes, I was laid to rest in the memorial on, it looks like Hollywood Hills area, so I'm not sure, somewhere. Of course, that's not really specific, I guess, Hollywood Hills. Or maybe it is, I don't know. Yeah, like I literally see like a grave marker in the ground, and I see it kind of looks like almost black, like it maybe used to, and then it has raised letters. It feels like it used like copper or something, like a bronze or something. It feels really pretty. And she's talking about her mother. She has there's love there now. I almost feel like a leaving home situation, but I'm not sure. I see her mom, and then I see kind of dad, but he looks like a ghost or something, like he's not really there. But she's talking about love, my mom in the afterlife. And then I get the feeling that she moved to LA, like she was from someplace else, like smaller town or something, and she moved in. I also feel like she did work in New York potentially, or was asked to work in New York. I feel like she may have been a stage actress. Like she may have done performances on Broadway, but I don't know if she was actually in New York. I'm not sure about this. It could be that her family is in New York and she is here, like nowadays, whoever her lineage is. She'd have grandchildren. I don't think she has a child. I don't think she has kids. If she did, it would be one, and it was a girl, and it feels younger. So I feel like it's more like a younger sister. Unless she got pregnant unexpectedly and had to give up her baby, that might be too. See, I told you guys there's going to be a lot of details. Like I feel like there's this wanting to be a motherhood, mother energy, but not it didn't work out for her. It was not supposed to be that way. That was not supposed to happen. I feel like there's an accident around her death, like accidental death. I see the Hollywood sign. I'm looking up at the Hollywood sign, and I'm feeling like this is where I was. I was in or around LA when it happened. And she's showing me the desert area. Of course, you know, it doesn't take much to drive and get to that in California. She says it's my fault. Her passing feels like it's partly, she accepts the part of the responsibility, if not all of it. It's kind of weird, though. I don't understand it. It's like twisted. It's flipped. It's the reverse. She's showing me it's the reverse. I don't know if someone killed her. It doesn't feel like a murder. I'm going to tell you that right now. I don't feel like she was murdered. She's not giving me the feeling that she was murdered at all. It was a surprise. Her death was a surprise. I do know that she died young because when my husband mentioned her that this was who he thinks it is, he said, you know, Harlow, and I'm like, Jean Harlow, yes, that's who it is. He said, oh, she died young. He's mentioned that. So I'm thinking like 20s, mid-20s, maybe 25 or 20s, 25 or 26, 22, young. It almost feels like she looks older than she is. Does this make sense? I hope so. She looks more mature, like she could, not older in like a bad way at all, she's beautiful, but mature, like she could play older parts. It feels like that. Like she has a unique ability to do that. And I feel like she was a contemplator, like she was a thinker. She's always trying to figure things out. And I feel like she was trying to, and she's showing me or talking to me about playing the games in Hollywood, playing the game of Hollywood, talking about how it's very interwoven and complicated. And I mean, at times it is, she's like, it can be devious. I mean, it really can be what you would say cutthroat. And when she's talking to me, she's not talking to me like conversation style talking. She's showing me bits and pieces and parts, things that I maybe would be able to resonate or gravitate, capture, and reflect to you more specifically. She says, do I need to dumb it down for you? She says, do I need to dumb it down for you? She's very nice, but she's more serious than funny. She has more of a serious demeanor about her. Although I feel like she could lighten up. I feel like she was running around with, like, had friends that were young, like, I just saw a date, 1936 or 1938, 1937. In between 36 and 37, or 36 and 38 is 1937. Something significant there. And then, but I feel like I feel like I'm in an old movie where there's like, I'm gonna use the word teeny boppers, and they're like, you know, dancing, and they're like at the soda fountain or the diner or something, and there's a young man, and he's good looking, like he is very fine, and everybody wants to be with this young man, and she catches his eye, and she's like, just like in the movies. It feels like she had a romance with someone, just like in the movies, and married young, and he was young and gorgeous, and I feel like he's more of, I don't want to say musician, but around Hollywood, but I see him with the guitar singing. So I don't know if he actually played guitar, but I see him holding it. So to me, that's like, oh, you're a musician. Thank you. That's my symbol. If I see somebody, then they hold the guitar, that's a symbol to me that they are in the music industry, just so you know. So I wanted, this is a good moment, Jean, for me to just educate everyone who's watching. When spirit speaks, they use symbol and metaphor. This is what you guys ask for, signs. Give me a sign. That's what symbols and metaphors are. So I have the symbol of a guitar for a musician, like that, right? So I have a symbol for grandma too. That's like a pink, a light to medium pink rose. That means grandma to me, someone's grandmother. All right, so go ahead, Jean. She's showing me little Scotty dogs. Not sure what that means, but little Scotty dogs. And wanting to live in, she keeps saying the hills. I don't know if it's Hollywood Hills. It feels like Hollywood Hills, but it kind of feels fancy, classy, like Beverly Hills. I do not remember the areas around LA, the cool parts where like the celebrities lived, but Hollywood Hills keeps coming up. But the hills, and I don't know if she's referring to Beverly Hills because like for me, I might think it's Beverly Hills, but for her and the time that she was in Hollywood, and then I see, okay, so 1937, and then I see this 1960, 1962, 1960. Oh, this is random. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm switching and going into other people, but this is how this is kind of complicated at times for me because there's so many famous people and they're all kind of interconnected. I have no idea if she's connected to Ritchie Valens or knows Ritchie Valens, but there's somebody named Ritchie or somebody that looks like him. And I think Ritchie Valens was like the La Bamba guy, right? So I don't know if that's the same time as you, overlapping. And that's what she said. I feel like it's overlapped. The time is overlapped. I don't know that she was necessarily with him, but somebody that looks like him. Like to me, if I recall correctly, he was a good-looking guy. One of his boys, maybe. No. There's not that much of a connection. There's just a little bit of an overlap. I don't know what that means. A little bit of Ritchie. I'm not sure what that means, what that's about. Okay. Will you show me something around your desk? Can you do that? I'm feeling like I can't breathe, like the air thing, something with the throat. Oh, that's awful. I'm so sorry. That's just not comfortable. I'm asking, like in my head, I'm like, was it a pool? Was it like a drowning? I don't feel like it was that. Was it a car? What kind of accident was it? Was it a health problem? Was it an overdose? I'm asking all these questions about the death. I don't see it. I can't see it. Is it mysterious? No. Not really. Most details are public. I don't feel like it was a murder, though. I don't feel like it was this like horrible thing, way to go. But I can't breathe for some reason. Look at the throat, impacting the throat, closing up the throat. I almost feel, this feels like I can't breathe. I don't feel a chest impact. I don't feel a head impact. Everything's the throat. I don't know what that's about. She says, I think it's fascinating how people are so curious about death, about the point of death, as if that's going to make any difference for you in your life. That moment of the spiritual release is not painful in the way that many might perceive. It's really not a big tragic ending in a movie. Death can be rather peaceful, even if it was difficult at the time of the death or the type or style of your death. We don't dwell on that. I can feel her energy really strongly. in a nice way. She's very respectful. She's respectable. She's polite. I feel like she was really young, but she looked mature. That's how I feel. I do feel some alcohol. I feel some drinking. But I mean, that could just be a party thing. Everybody, you know, lots of people just have alcohol. But I feel like it would loosen her up, really loosen her up, make her not so anxious or nervous. I feel like it was difficult for her. I feel like there's a much older man that's like a director or a producer, casting person, that she is like, I don't want to say like a father figure, but somebody that has authority for her. And he's got like kind of a little bit of gray hair on the side of his head here. It looks gray a little bit, glasses. Got a white short sleeve shirt on, buttoned up a little bit. Looks like brown trousers and a belt. And he feels like he has, he doesn't feel super friendly. He feels like he's a straight talker. And I feel like he'll tell you the truth to people about their abilities or their shortcomings. And I don't necessarily, I think he's really straight. I don't think he's trying to be mean, but he can be harsh. It can be harsh or hard to take. But I feel like she's having this conversation with him for either for casting or for, he could be an agent. I don't think he's not an agent. And he has some kind of influence over her. I don't know if she feels like she owes him. He's the first one that gave her big break or whatever. I think we would recognize him. I think if I saw a picture of him, I think I'd recognize him. He could be like a famous director, a famous producer, somebody that recognized her. And it feels like a casting thing, like he was part of the casting thing. And I don't think at that time he was necessarily super famous, but I think he was up and coming. And I feel like he might have a famous dad too. So I think it's in the family. So I think it's the dad was famous, and then this is the other part of that, or not the brother, or maybe he is famous and his son is now famous. That could be, there's a dad connection, or he was famous and then now his son is famous, but it's a masculine connection of recognition. I think she's trying to bring it forward so that we recognize who that is. I don't know who that is. I don't recognize who that is. I think I would if I saw him. I think I would. All right. Thank you. Thank you for your time. She says, there's no time here. Like, I know. Thank me for my time. Thank me. It was nice to speak with you, Jean. And your fans, I'm sure, will appreciate it. And we will ask you to fill in the blanks. Share some details. Share what you know. And especially if you're a fan. And if you know who the director guys are, let me know who that is. And fill in some of the blanks of what I talked about. Okay? Help me fill in the blanks. And ask me some questions so that if she would like to speak in the future, if you would like to hear more from her, we could talk with her again, potentially. Yes, that would be fine. Do a little follow-up and answer some of those questions. This is Bridget with Above Life Channel. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure that you subscribe so you never miss a new uploaded weekly channel.